This Basics of Risk Quantification series is brought to you by Risk Garage. Making decision with decision tree. By now, you should be familiar with the risk management process, which was repeatedly discussed in the previous videos. Now, let's introduce the quantitative risk analysis step into the process. Quantitative risk analysis is a very powerful step, as this aspect of risk management involves quantifying risk impacts for making decision under risk. In this series, we would like to share with you the basic knowledge in quantitative risk analysis tools. When you are given a few options to complete a task, how do you usually assess them and select the best option? Based on the study, decision makers usually rely on both intuition and analytical data for assessing the pros and cons of each option, and rank the options based on their assessment. The former is based on their feelings and experience, which could have biases. The latter collates and analyzes the available data of each option. Modest problems can be solved with simple analytical skill. But when a problem becomes more complex and is affected by risks, quantitative risk analysis techniques will be handy to tackle the computation of risk impacts, and generate outputs that everyone understands. In this video, I would like to share with you a simple method for quantifying the impacts when you have a few options to consider. A decision tree is a decision support tool that uses a tree-like model of decisions and their scenarios, including probable event outcomes, resource costs, and utility. When you are given a few options, which can be structurally presented, for assessment and ranking, a decision tree could be a tool to help you meet the objective. Let's use a simple example to illustrate the application of a decision tree. John is presented with three investment cases, say Case A, Case B, and Case C. The investment cases will incur sunk costs of different amounts. Let's assume the sunk cost is the sum paid to a consultant and a government agent to do feasibility study. The sum cannot be recovered if John decides not to pursue the opportunity. John and his team will need to assess the potential profit and loss for each case. Some cases could have more than two outcomes of profit and loss. What they need to do next is to assess the probabilities of scenarios for each case. The sum of the probabilities of each case should be 1. However, assessing the probabilities could pose a challenge, especially if the scenario is new to the team. In order to overcome this, the team can study the past data, or get an expert to provide the best guess that is agreed by the team. The measure of expected value for each case is usually expected monetary value, or EMV. The equation is sum of the profit or loss weighted by the probabilities. Let's do a simple calculation on Case A. By summing the multiplications of probabilities and profit and loss, and taking into account the sunk cost, the EMV is $23,000. By applying the algorithm to other cases, Case B seems to be the most attractive investment. The main advantage of the decision tree is to get the team to structurally dissect and model the problem. This will ensure all the options are assessed in a transparent manner. Also, the decision tree can be expanded to accommodate more outcomes and sub-scenarios. However, for certain decisions, there may be various factors impacting the investments, and the relationships cannot be modeled in the decision tree. Also, this deterministic approach only provides single output value, and may not paint out the worst-case scenario. Let's quote an example. In an investment case, the profit of an investment is $150,000 with a probability of 80%. But the loss could $350,000 with a probability of 20%. The sunk cost is $25,000. Based on the probable outcomes and the relevant probabilities, the EMV is $25,000. If John is only informed the EMV, without understand the potential loss, he may get the impression that the investment is commercially feasible. But he will have a 20% chance, or the frequency of 1 in 5, of losing $350,000. When it happens, he may go bust if his financial position is not strong enough to withstand the impact. A solution to overcome this will be incorporating probabilistic analysis into the decision tree, and this will be explained in the future video. Hope you have learned something from this video. If you have any tips on decision tree, please share with me. Thank you, and see you again.